I think it's one of the worst Pokemon you can pick in solo queue. Shadow Sneak and Feint Attack seems to be the go with an eject button as a 58 win rate. Wow. So I'm just chewing on my own words here as we're going through this. I'm chewing on my own words, right? I don't even know why that works. There'll be some Sableye expert in the comments tell me why that works, but that's cool. This is a website you can go to check and see if your favorite Pokemon is even worth using in Pokemon Unite in the current meta. So let's say your favorite Pokemon is Cinderace. You're like, oh my god, I love Cinderace. He's the best Pokemon in the world. You can click on this Pokemon. You can have a look at their win rate. Now, I'll just do a little quick breakdown of how you want to read this data. Overall win rate, that is their wins versus losses, you will win 45% of the time. Not very good, because if it's below 50%, that means you are losing more games than you're winning. Mirror means that this is the win percent when you have a Cinderace on your team and the enemy team does not. You will lose more often if you have a Cinderace and the enemy team does not. So that tells you quite a bit about Cinderace at the moment. This bias, honestly, not that useful. And then you can have a look at the particular builds, right? Pyroable Flame Charge is the most popular. It has the largest pick rate, but the win rate is 44% for that particular build. So overall, Cinderace's usage is 45%, but the best build would be Blaze Kick and Flame Charge. It is absolutely the best build for Cinderace. And then you can have a look at the battle items. It's honestly consistently just kind of bad across the board. So Cinderace, probably not a Pokemon that I would be picking. But overall, let's have a breakdown of our meta at the moment. Just a quick fun fact for you. Mewtwo Y's pick rate, selection rate is 63.1%. Mewtwo X's is 19.2%. If you add those together, you get 82%. Mewtwo is picked in 82% of teams. Now, if you do a bit of maths here, you think, how many games or what is the probability that a Mewtwo will not be in my lobby at all? So it's not going to be on my team or the enemy team. Okay, there's an 18% chance that it's not going to be on your team. There's an 18% chance it's not going to be on the enemy's team. So it's 18% times 18%. That gives you about 3% chance that a Mewtwo is not going to be in your lobby, X or Y. This is like, oh, it's a disgrace, right? Now, Mewtwo at the moment, this is laughable. Mewtwo Y just outclasses absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. But down the bottom of the win rate is Mewtwo X. It's the worst performing Pokemon. It's got the worst win rate out of all the Pokemon, right? So it's just so... It just goes to show you how a Pokemon can outclass you by kiting and having that insane amount of damage, and also just the sustainability of this Pokemon as well. And how well you can support it. Having range will definitely help you over not having range. You can outclass those all-arounder style Pokemon if you've got it in your kit to do so. So let's have a look at Mewtwo Y. This is the main issue with Mewtwo Y, right? You'll notice that when you click on a lot of Pokemon, the overall in their mirror is pretty similar, right? Like, it doesn't really matter if you pick the Pokemon and the enemy team doesn't. But with Mewtwo Y, the mirror, this is a big number. 66% of the time you will win if you have a Mewtwo Y on your team and the enemy doesn't. That's honestly, that's kind of problematic. Okay, it's got an overall win percent of 55%. If you go down to the builds, this has actually dropped a little bit. And I think the win rate has dropped because more people have unlocked Mewtwo Y. And dare I say, more people have unlocked it for free. They haven't had to pay up those gems. And generally, the people who pay gems will be better at the game. So, because they're more invested in it, right? So this moveset of Future Sight and Recover, this is a moveset you want to use. And throw on that X attack, you'll bump that up to a 59 win percent. So Mewtwo Y, no surprises because there's been no update. It's still a bit of a problem. Our next one is our Blissey, right? Blissey, again, 55 overall win percent. Pretty similar to Mewtwo Y because they're generally a duo, and a mirror of 58%, right? That's very big, and the build is Helping Hand Safeguard with an X speed because you want to be keeping up with that Mewtwo Y at key points in the game. So really strong pick. 70% of the time that build gets picked. This Pokemon is very, very strong at the moment. Okay, let's cover some other Pokemon and some other builds that are sliding under the radar, right? Because everybody at the moment, unless you've been living under a rock, everyone knows about Mewtwo Y and everyone knows about Blissey as that combination. Now, as you can see down here on the left, we've got pick rate. Down here on the right, we've got our win rate. These Pokemon get picked quite a bit, so they're on our radar. But there are some Pokemon lower down on this list. My big one is Garchomp, right? Garchomp is only getting picked at 4% of the time, but it's currently ranked 5 in win percent. It's got a 52 win percent. Let's have a look at Garchomp. What Garchomp build should you be using? Okay, see how the overall is similar to the mirror with that win rate? Very balanced Pokemon, okay? Not broken, very balanced. This Pokemon has, this build in particular, 78% pick rate is a Dragon Rush, Dragon Claw. If you haven't mastered that combo, after this video, watch someone like, Chris Heroes or Inder or someone who's explained, or, Phil Umis, someone who's explained how to use Garchomp. This Pokemon's a lot of fun. Get into it and throw on that eject button, right? You want to dive further into the backline and you want to get your dragon combos off. It's got a 52 win rate. That's really, really good, right? The builds that you want to avoid is Dig and Dragon Claw and Dragon Rush and Earthquake. Generally, there's two builds. There's the Dragon build and there is the Dig Earthquake build. So those are the two builds that you want to go for. And the general consensus is put on an eject button. That is going to give you the most bang for your buck with Garchomp. Okay, a couple other Pokemon that I want to have a look at. Goodra, again, we had a look at this one last time. This Muddy Water Acid Spray moveset has actually dropped in its win rate quite a bit, and it's also dropped in that pick rate, which is, a little bit weird. Generally, you want to use, if you're playing Goodra, you run it with an X speed, but generally the build that will win you more games is Muddy Water over Dragon Pulse, and it's really got to do with, he's got enough passive healing as is, so play with that move that'll do more damage and give you a little more sustain, but with the less healing. Another Pokemon that I would like to have a look at is Lapras. Lapras is on everyone's radar. Honestly, Lapras is maybe a little bit too strong at the moment. But that's okay. Perish Song and Ice Beam, 54% win rate, very good. Use this Pokemon with that X speed. And you've also got your Water Pulse Ice Beam, so Ice Beam is the better move. And you've also got Water Pulse and Bubble Beam. Generally, if you're going to pick Lapras, the moveset to avoid is Perish Song and Bubble Beam. Don't pick that moveset. Okay, but let's say one of your favorite Pokemon, you're like, oh, I want to pick something that just doesn't get any. I never see anyone use it. Let's have a look at. Oh, I want to pick Serena. Serena's got such a low usage. Is there any value in picking Serena? So you can have a look at Serena. You can glance over to it. Right, there is one build that actually does okay, and it's Triple Axle and Trop Kick, and you put on an X speed. And that build has actually got a 52% win rate for the people who are picking it. So there's, although it's got a really bad win percent of 46%, with the particular build, the Pokemon's got a 52% win rate, which is really good, right? So, you can still use some, you might think, oh, my favorite Pokemon is Serena and I really want to use it. Oh, is there any builds or that? Don't just look at the overall win percent. Click on the Pokemon and have a little bit of an analysis. You can get a good feel whether the Pokemon is dead or not. Okay, for me, I absolutely love Charizard. I have a very big soft spot for Charizard. What looks like Flamethrower Fire Blast is the moveset I use. I do use it with an X speed. It's still got above 50% win rate. I've got a friend who has, he loves the Fire Punch and the Flare Blitz moveset. And he uses that with an X speed. Maybe if he had the same level of awareness as the rest of us watching these videos, he might soon learn that the more optimal build would be Flamethrower and Fire Blast rather than try and convince the world otherwise. Because the data, guys, does not lie. The data does not lie. The data paints a very good picture. And that's why I love this website. I love our contributors. I love everyone who makes this possible. I very much love the numbers, right? We love the numbers here. Okay, Slowbro is another Pokemon. Let's have a quick glance over at Slowbro, right? I get flamed for using Surf Amnesia, but have a look at the wins percent. I get flamed. I go, oh, use Skulls. Skulls so much better than Surf. Well, is it? No, it's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. If you want to win games like me, if you want to be Unite climbing, then you probably want to use Surf Amnesia with this Pokemon. Now, there's a good reason why Amnesia wins more games than Telekinesis at the moment, and that's simply because there is a lot of you need to be doing a bit more sustaining, and Telekinesis is more of a skill shot. And honestly, Telekinesis is like a poor man's version of your Unite move. It's like a budget Unite move, right? So Amnesia is just generally a better skill. Now, and I get told you should be running a potion with this Pokemon because there's like a hack with potion and slack off. I don't care about that. That's early game stuff, right? You can play well in the early game. What's going to help you is the eject button. Look at the eject button win rate for every single build, right? It carries these builds. Even this one, 48%. I mean, it's just a bad build in general, right? But the eject button, it's because late game, if you want to get to the carry, Slowbro is slow, right? He's a slow bro. So if you want to get to the enemy backline, you eject towards the Pokemon that you're trying to Unite move, and then you Unite move it, right? If you have an X speed, the enemy can see that coming. If you flash at them, right, with that eject, you flash at them and immediately lock on their Unite, they will not anticipate that. That happens in an instant, right? That happens in an instant. So Slowbro, very good Pokemon. Probably arguably S tier at the moment. Another one we can have a look at is Tyranitar. Tyranitar. Is there even a space for this Pokemon? Well, guess what? It got a recent buff, and there is. It has a 50 win rate, and it's also got two builds, which is Stone Edge and Ancient Power, which is just bizarre to me, and Dark Pulse and Ancient Power. I believe last time I was having a look, it was Sand Tomb and Stone Edge, so fluctuates a little bit, but this is the build I like, is Dark Pulse and Ancient Power. Using that, I personally love using it with a X speed, but it looks like I should be running it with a full heal. It looks like that's what I should be doing because it's got a higher win rate. So I should probably reconsider my options there. I should keep an open mind, a little bit of a growth mindset to improving in Pokemon Unite by having a look at some of this data. But it's weird because it's counterintuitive to me. Tyranitar with a 50 win percent, I always thought Tyranitar was actually quite bad because it's just got such a weak early game. It's got such a weak early game. All right, now there's a couple Pokemon I'm going to pick on here, right? Sableye is a Pokemon that I just absolutely detest. I think it is a pathetic in solo queue. I think it's one of the worst Pokemon you can pick in solo queue, right? We have a look. Shadow Sneak and Feint Attack seems to be the go with an eject button as a 58 win rate. Wow. So I'm just chewing on my own words here as we're going through this. I'm chewing on my own words, right? The data don't lie. Maybe I should consider that. I don't even know why that works. There'll be some Sableye expert in the comments tell me why that works, but that's cool. Yeah. The rest of the builds, though, they look kind of bad. I am not a fan of Sableye. I have had a couple play it really well in rank, so that's another Pokemon. So there you go. I probably can't now sit here and say that Sableye is a very bad Pokemon anymore. Another Pokemon that I think is really overrated, in my opinion, is Leafeon. I think Leafeon's overrated as... yeah, look at those win rates, right? Not too great. Solar Blade and Leaf Blade is definitely the moveset. I do like Razor Leaf, though. It has a higher win rate. We saw more of this at Worlds. Yeah. I honestly think Leafeon's kind of overrated, in my opinion. Okay, but Pokemon of the week that's sliding under the radar. Crustle. The Krusty Krab. This Pokemon is doing incredibly well. Has above 50 win rate. I think this is like the first time in a very long time, right? But the build seems to be X-Scissor, right? Well, to be honest, all of them except Shell Smash and Stealth Rock, because that's kind of throwing a little bit. And again, there's a Fluffy Tail on this one, a 44 win rate. So that's very bad. Please don't use Cross like that. But it looks like the battle item doesn't really have too much of an influence. I'd probably say either Eject or Potion seems to be the way to go. And you could go Shell Smash or Rock Tomb as long as you're using X-Scissor. Alright, the last Pokemon I'm going to go over in this video is the Pokemon with the lowest win rate. The lowest pick rate. And that is Greedent. Greedent has the lowest pick rate. Let's have a look at our little cheeky boy here. Bullet Seed and Stuffed Cheeks is doing amazing things. And use this Pokemon with a Potion or with funnily enough, a fluffy tail. Don't use that X speed on this build. Okay, or you could go Covet Belch. Again, the potion and the fluffy tail seems to be doing wonders. The fluffy tail maybe helps you early game with getting some secures on the enemy farm. The potion will help you with sustaining. But these, this is 2 builds with above 50 win rates. That's really good, right? Please don't use the other 2, right? They don't synergize well. The skills don't match up well, and it's pretty evident in their win rate. So, Breeden is a Pokemon slept on, man. Slept on. Not a lot of usage, but will give you some bang for your buck. So if you find this video useful, you find this kind of video useful, hopefully you are taking upon yourself to have a look at some of this data as well and get a good grip of what Pokemon that you should be using, or a particular Pokemon that you like using, and you can figure out a build that works well with that Pokemon, so you're using something that's meta and you are winning more games more frequently in Pokemon Unite, and you're doing your teammates the highest of honors, which is trying to climb, working with the team, right? That's all for me. Click on one of these videos that are popping up on the screen right now. Continue that watch session. Give the video a like. YouTube loves it when the video gets some likes. Share some love. Drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the current meta, and let me know what your fingers crossed. Hopefully at the end of the season we get a nice patch. Let me know what you guys want to see. Have a very good day.